I am so excited to have Clarissa Burt on the podcast with me today. She is a renowned a lot of things internationally.
It's right straight to the punch you went.
That's right. I'm excited. She's great. And we're going to talk about her latest, which is a book that she has. I'm so excited about that. The Self-Esteem Regime. I think it's a blessing for a lot of people. So welcome, Clarissa.
You, Sherry. Thanks so much for having me, Shelly. I appreciate it. Really do.
You're welcome. So can you tell us, I know you grew up in Manhattan, is that correct?
Philadelphia. I was
Philadelphia, okay, that area. So
Philadelphia, yeah, just sort of like to, regular blue collar people and row home and that sort of thing, and loved it. And then we moved to Texas, where you are. We moved to Texas. Yeah, we moved to Texas when I was 12 because my father started up Westinghouse in Round Rock, right outside of Austin. So I was down there for a while. So yeah, go Eagles. And and then I moved back to New Jersey, after which I did move into Manhattan when I was about 19 out of high school. And that's where the modeling career started. And that took me over to Europe, where I lived for 30 years. So I was in Italy for 30 years, and not only, but, Paris, and kind of lived a little bit everywhere, but Italy for the most part. And I did my modeling career, and I did some acting career. And then I had my, my television producer career, which is what, I really like the most. It started when I was Mary Poppins in the kindergarten play, if you really want to know. and that's when they told me I was vaccinated with a phonograph needle, Shelly. So yeah, just keep asking questions. The problem's going to be shutting me up, not getting me to talk. So
so what took you to, so modeling took you to Italy. Did you know Italian before that?
Not. I knew ciao and arrivederci, and that was it. And so, I don't have Italian blood. I am an Italian citizen now, but I did have to learn everything from ground zero, basically from the get-go. And that was part of the fun part of the journey. I do speak Italian now. Obviously I had to do that because I was working on television, there. So it's a beautiful language. I think it's the most beautiful language on the planet. And it's a pleasure to be able to speak it, for sure.
That's cool. One of my daughters would totally agree. She's all Italian. We went to Italy in 2019. She and I did, and it's a beautiful place. Yeah, she wants to live there.
Really, it's an amazing place to be.
So you were in Italy and you were doing modeling, and then you got into film, correct?
Yes.
And then and then you continued from there. So can you tell people exactly what went on?
The only movie that I was in that came to the United States was called The Never Ending Story Part 2. And I was the mean queen in that movie by the name of Zaida. And I was the mean queen that was stealing all of boys' memories. And so, yeah, that was a Warner Brothers worldwide release. And it kind of, if you will, put me on the map on a little bit more of a global scale. The movie didn't do as well as the first one did. But yeah, I tell you, there are like, cult clubs and all kinds of things all over the world for the Never Ending Story. So every once in a while they'll hit me up for something. But that was when we shot that in Munich, Germany in the summer of summer, hot, muggy, humid, Texas, hot, humid summer, in Munich, Germany. And it was a blast. It was hot, but it was a really, really good time.
Now, you also had an experience of being on the Italian Survivor.
Yes, I was on Survivor. God, you did do your homework. It was, I was on Italian Celebrity Survivor. And so I was already living back in the States for some years, and they really had to twist my arm to get me to go do this because I didn't want to do it. And I was already like 52 at the time. And I was like, come on, you guys, they needed somebody in my age group, that age group.
Okay.
I conceded and I went, and it was a really great experience. I was on the island for about 2.5 months, and it was great, Shelly, because I lost like 23 pounds while you don't eat. It was so good.
Yeah.
For that, it was great. The rest of it was a little challenging, very harrowing, but it's a challenge. It's the challenge that you really take on, that you challenge yourself and you find out who you are. On the island, as we get into the conversation on the island, was one of the things when I talk about self-esteem, we talk about the value system. I talk about taking the high road, which is honesty, integrity, gratitude, and honor. And one of the things that happened on the island during one of the exercises was we were being transported by helicopters. The whole group was going in helicopters somewhere, I don't know where. And I had the two beautiful bikini babes with me, and they were lovely girls, and we got along fine. I was like everybody's aunt. You know, I was getting close to everybody's grandmother, but that's okay. I was everybody's aunt on the island. And they had coerced the pilot into going into the little kiosk over there and getting us something to eat because we were starving. So of course, this guy, you know, Nicaragua, Latin blood, says, sure, babes, no problem. And he goes over, brings back this paper bag of food. They sit in the back, I'm in the front, and they tap me on the shoulder and say, you know, here's some food. You know, it was loud. You couldn't really put through. And I said, oh, no, thank you. And it was one of those kind of moments where you know that you've put a division between you and them. But you did the right thing, and you did the right thing because it would have been against the rules. You would have been definitely breaking the rules. You were putting yourself in an advantage to everyone else that was playing the game, and it was just the wrong thing to do. Now, I get that you're hungry and you want to survive and all of that. You know, we had vitamin water and doctors with, you know, checking it. We were fine. We were just great. We were losing weight. It was phenomenal, and we were all very strong and healthy. But I realized in that moment that I had that the relationship, if you will, that I had changed, because A, they were afraid I might tell on them, which I would never do, and B, it put them now in a different state of mind, thinking about the affiliation that we might have had, you know. So I'm not saying, look, I'm not perfect, I'm human, and I make mistakes as well, but I knew that was against the, and I'm a nonconformist, but I will follow the rules when the rules, you know, are good. You know, the rules are meant for everyone, not just for me. So it was kind of an honor kind of situation, but, you know, I digress. But just to give you an idea as to how also that moment on the island was something that I was extremely proud of, and that it was integrated into the book as honor is a word we don't hear that much anymore, Shelley. And it's one of those words that look, I will die on that hill. You know, honesty, integrity, gratitude, and honor. I'll die on that hill. And it doesn't always make me a popular person, because people are like, you're exhausting to be around. You know, you know. Well, I'm really not. I just want to do the right thing. You know, and I wish everybody else would too. But anyway.
Right. And that made me think of, I know about what you had a couple of meetings with Pope John II, right? And can you tell the reason why you met with him?
So I've never been married and I don't have children. So my weekends were normally consumed by going, you know, I work all week, you know, doing with my company and my production company. And then during the weekends, when most people are kind of chilling with the boo, or they're hanging with their kids and doing all of that sort of thing, I was not doing that. So I would go when they would call me. And remember, I'm working on television in Italy now, so I'm fairly well known, you know, in Italy. And they asked me to come to their weekend events, and to their benefits and charities and that sort of thing. And of course, I always said, yes, send me the car, I'll come, you know. And that's exactly how I would spend most of my Friday and Saturday nights, almost every weekend for years. And so it put, you know, we're all living in Rome, and the Vatican's right there. I think that the Vatican caught wind of the amount of work that I was putting into social. I never got paid. I never saw a dollar. I never saw a dime. A lot of people are asked, you know, they asked to be paid to go to things like that. I never did, because I knew it was my way of giving back. And that giving back, you know, there are the 4 pillars of self-esteem, which are look good, feel good, be good, and greater good. Look good is what we're, you know, outside. Feel good, diet, exercise, nutrition. Be good, relationship, leadership, your business, all the others, finances. And then the greater good is tithing, volunteering, paying it back, paying it forward. And that was my way of doing that. And so the Vatican picked up on it, and I was able to get 2 private audiences with Pope John Paul II for that. It's amazing. It's really cool. It was
an honor. Yeah.
Yes, it was a great honor.
And I bring up all these things because of your book, because I feel like all these things have built you and prepared you for the book and what you're sharing, and your integrity and the honesty. So what got you into writing your book?
Tell you what got into writing my book. It was a book that I had had for a real long time in my crow. As I say, it was right there. And I'm never gonna, you see the energy I've had just to get this thing started. I was all over the darn place, right? But I'm full of energy, and that means I'm really kind of an ADD, ADHD. Throw any other letters in there that you'd like. I don't care. But I'm full on energy all the time. I know I am not going to sit and open up a document and I'm not going to do it. So I was doing a speech. And a lovely guy that I've known for a while by the name of Gary Krebs, and there he is. Kudos to Gary Krebs. As I came off stage, said, I want to write your book. And I went, Gary, I love you, but ghostwriters and it really expensive. And he says, no, we'll work out another. So we worked out another deal, and we worked on the book, and we were able to get the book, a book deal with a New York City publisher during COVID, which was almost unheard of because everything was shutting down.
Yeah.
You talk about, the universe in the works. It was time for this book. It was the right moment for me for the book. And the book was published in November of 21. And it was November 15th, 16th, something like that. And Shelley, I no sooner went, it's dated, to publish my book. And I got COVID.
Oh, no.
And I got COVID for 3 weeks. I had high fever for 12, 13 days. The fever wouldn't break. I subsequently lost half of the hair on my head, but that's another show. And I was to the hospital twice. I mean, I was really, really sick. As soon as I started to feel better, well, now it's Christmas. Nobody's going to pay any attention to me now. We're in full on holidays. I didn't really start to give any love to this book at all until 2 months after it was published. Wow. Now, I've done 200 podcasts since then, and certainly I've done some press, but I will tell you, it was a little bit of a rocky go to get my baby out into the world. I was really thrilled the day that I found out, though, it was a super crowning moment, that my book is in the Barnes & Noble stores. And it's right there with Tabitha Brown and Brene Brown, Clarissa Burt, Deepak Chopra, Dr. Joe Dispenza. And I went, I don't know which saints I had prayed to, but these were crowning moments for me. And as I was growing up, we didn't have then, computers and internet and phones and that sort of thing, but we did have bookstores, and there were 3 of them at the time: Borders, Walden Books, and Barnes and Noble. And there was a little section in the back called Self-Help, and there aren't that many books on there, but I devoured them all as I was going through my years. And it was a place I'd love to be. Well, now, Shelley, it's, personal development, as they call it now, is a $1 billion industry. Billions of dollars are made on personal development. And if you walk into Barnes & Noble now, it's rows upon rows upon rows upon rows upon rows of self-help book or personal development books. So it just goes to prove that we are always looking for help. We're looking for assistance. We're looking for answers. We're looking for comfort. We're looking for the reason why. We're looking as to how we can up level, take next steps, be the better person tomorrow, be a better person tomorrow than we are today. So I am always, touting and ringing the bell about making sure that we are constantly doing the work on ourselves. Put it in the calendar. I don't care if you have to cut out half an hour on a Friday at 10 o'clock. You must be doing this. Do the work. There's no reason you shouldn't right now, because it's so easily accessible. The books are, the shelves are lined. You've got classes and courses and the internet and YouTube and access to some of the greatest titans in the world of personal development. So,
and that's why I thought you'd be a perfect for the Live Greater podcast. That's what it's about doing a little better each day, progression. And we're not perfect, but we're just progressing each day. And there's opportunity to become better each day. And through like what you do in the service. And can you tell about your title, the Self-Esteem Regime? What does that mean to you?
Well, regime is an organized way of doing things. Simple and straight up. It's an organized way of doing things. So my book is not a read. You're not going to read about self-esteem. It's an action plan. It says it right there on the cover. It's an action plan for becoming the confident person you were meant to be. And you're going to start at chapter 1 and you're going to end up, as I say, air quotes, at chapter 12, but that's just really the beginning. And you're going to go chapter by chapter with case studies and affirmations and Clarissa's Corner and the Clarion Call and a review and homework. And you're going to work chapter by, because the book is, I say it's changing lives one chapter at a time. Each chapter begins with a reword. So you start with a release, and then you start to rebuild, and then you work on responsibility. Where are you taking responsibility for your life, and where are you shirking responsibility? Where are the things that are, we really start to talk about comfort zones and kind of breaking some of the molds and the belief systems. And in the first chapter is really the most work you will do in the book, and that is release. What do you have to unlearn? What's not serving you anymore? What isn't good for your path? What, who are you going to potentially irk or, annoy, or somebody's nose is going to get out of joint because you've decided that you're moving on in a different way than what you have been taught by either your natal tribe or your friends, the circle of friends, or potentially, and I say this very loosely, something in your faith or something that's happened, there, or, I mean, you can go down the line with all of our formative processes, and where is it that we picked up things along the way that we would swear were truth, and that is the hill we're going to die on until we go, you know what? Let me think. Well, I got to rethink this a minute, and then take that really deep dive, and it's going to be difficult at times. And it's going to take tenacity to continue, and it's going to take courage, because there are going to be some really fearful moments, because most people don't want to know that much about themselves. They just don't want to go there.
Yeah.
And I'm inviting you to say, go there, because what's on the other side of that discomfort is so big and bold and bright and better than you could ever imagine, that it's really worth doing the work. And I say work. Let me use the word effort. Let's soften the word a little bit. People go, oh my God, it's work. All right, let's say the effort. But again, you must pull out the courage part of it all. Yeah. And then, people say, oh, I'm so afraid. Good. That's great. Because face everything and rise. Fear, face everything and rise. Do it anyway. Just stand there and be afraid and go through it anyway. Oh, but what if I fail? Oh my God, failure. Well, great. It's your first attempt in learning. So be afraid and fail, because every time you do fail, you're that much closer to success.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say fail forever, but, to get comfortable with, it's not going to work out. I'm sure that the first car that came off the assembly line and the first light bulb that Edison came up with, or Tesla, depending on who you want to tell you, whoever, it didn't always go right the first time. They had to go back to the drawing board. We go back to our drawing board quite frequently. And on our drawing board is our blueprint, the one that we've created for ourselves and for the life that we want to live.
Yeah. And I think that your book, like you're saying, a lot of effort, and it's not just a quick read. It sounds like it's a deep dive, and to one chapter at a time, to really take the time to dive deep. And it is hard. Some of those things can be hard and you don't want to face them, but to really progress, we have to face a lot.
Let's talk about toxic relationships. Let's talk about toxic relationships. How many people that you know and I know are in toxic relationships and they just can't bring themselves to leave or to move on, or at least to put some distance? And that's where, therein lies, because as soon as they feel the distance, you're distancing yourself. Are you going to be sprung back into action, or are you going to say, hey, no, listen, I've got to, I'm going to be moving on, whatever.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and we could be here all day on that. But self-esteem does not discriminate, Shelley, and this is the reason why my book has a blue cover. You'll see there are 3 iterations of blue. And when I first got it back, it was pink, yellow, and orange, and it was pretty, and it would just jumped off the shelves at Barnes and Noble. And the only one thing I asked the publisher was, can we just change it to 3 iterations of blue so that men will pick it up? And they do, and they're doing the work. I'm really thrilled with that, because when I went to Italy and dropped the book there, and I was, touring the country, and I'd walk in half, not 49%, 50% of the room were men. And I was so thrilled to see that, again, self-esteem doesn't discriminate, and our men are hurting just like women are, and our men need the guidance and the assistance and the support just like women do. And yeah, so I would say, and our children, let's talk to the moms. I know you talk to moms in your podcast. It is a hellacious time to be a parent right now. It is must be I'm not a parent, but I can only imagine what an extremely difficult time it is to be a parent and to be a kid.
Yeah.
So, the CDC is coming out with some very, very disturbing data, and that data does not look good for our youth. And it is depression and anxiety and ideations of suicide are actually committing suicide, which today they say unaliving. But whatever the terminology and the semantics, the fact stands that we are in crisis mode right now. I would offer and proffer that some of the best things we could probably do is just get the devices out of their hands at least for half an hour a day.
Yeah.
Get them out, shut them down, and spend some time. Do the cuddling, do the hard work, do the whatever it is. You too, parents. It's a lot easier to say, here's your device. Go do. And then I really am a proponent also of the kitchen table. Bring them back to the kitchen table.
Oh.
Everybody around the kitchen table. I don't care if it's 40 minutes. It's really only a half an hour gig. If you really think about it, the kitchen table is about half an hour on a good day, from soup to nuts, from salad to coffee. it's a half, but it's a really enriching relationship.
That's without the phones.
Without the phones. Without the phones. No phones, no devices, no computers, and I would say turn them off, or at least put them on silent and put them in another room.
Yeah.
And be together. Be together.
Yeah. That's something we do in our family. We've always, we sit around, you talk at the table. So it's been great. And for me, going outside, I require my kids to go outside for every day for a time. So
sure. Nature is an amazing, it's really, it's, when we were kids, it's all we did. It was like, you went out in the morning and you didn't come home until, the street lights came on. They didn't want to see or hear from you. I mean, that was just the way it was. And we had a blast. We had a ball.
Or the bugle call from mom or something.
Yeah, it was a bugle call. Some people have cowbells. We knew that when the street lights went on, you needed to get home.
Yeah.
And we're the generation without seatbelts in the cars and drinking out of the water hoses, and we're just fine. Thank you.
Yeah. And I love the high road you were saying earlier, and I know that comes from your book. Can you reemphasize that? So the
value system. It's your value system, Shelley. People, if I were to say, drop and give me 5 right now, what are your top 5 values? What are they? Most people probably go, it needs to be really clear. What are your value systems? Where's the hill you're going to die on? I like to use that phrase. What hill are you going to die on? What is it that you absolutely bring to your life every day? We are humans. We trip up. We're going to make mistakes, and we're not always going to be perfect. But for the most part, give me your 98.3% of what hill you're going to die on, and that's the value system that most people really kind of forgot. I mean, unless you're in the military, honor is really not a word you hear that much anymore. Honesty, everybody thinks it's okay to just tell their own version of stories, and especially on social media, that's why we have to be careful there with our kids, because it's a lot of what we're getting on social media is the perception of what people want us to believe about themselves, as opposed to what's really true. And so I'm really big about your creating your value system. And creating your boundaries. Boundaries are huge, and boundaries boundaries is it's your way of teaching others how you will and will not be treated. And you can do this kindly, and you can do it with ease and joy and grace. It doesn't have to be a big hoo-ha and anger, and you just did, and what you just said. Just say, hey, listen, can we have a chat? What you just said kind of, no, don't be, too overly sensitive, because everybody's so offended about everything anymore. And I think we need to buck up a little bit and just get the chuckle sometimes, have a laugh even at our own expense. It's okay. But make sure that it's not the expense that you're in a toxic relationship. If somebody comes back to you and you say, hey, listen, what that word you just used really triggers me for whatever, and they say to you, oh, come on, get over yourself. What the heck? What? You might be in a toxic relationship, and again, there are different grades, if you will, of toxicity, but be careful with, instead, if somebody says, oh, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I had no idea. I'm so, no, we're good. It's fine. Just kind of, for the, and you can explain yourself. So, when I was a kid, it was used and it just kind of bothers me. No problem. We'll never do it again. Then you know that you're in a healthier kind of communicative process with someone, and they're a keeper, so be real careful about who you let into. And this goes with dating. This goes with who you let into that inner circle. Who are they? And what are they really, really, what is their value system? What are their boundaries? You must also be willing to respect everyone else's wishes and boundaries and desires. So, it's a two-way street, but I think that those are some of the easiest and the greatest tools that we have. Remembering also that loyalty is when you have my back behind my back. How loyal are you to others? Are you congregating at the water cooler, sort of trashing Susie Q because there's this fomenting tribe mentality about Susie Q, instead of saying, hey, you know what? I know Susie Q, everybody. I think she's pretty cool. Maybe she's just having a bad day. Maybe she just needs a hug, or she needs somebody to talk to. Are you that person? Or are you fomenting along with the tribe? So you've got to be real careful about things like that, because people are watching you as well. That's that honor piece I was talking about. Yeah. Leaders don't do things like that. Leaders don't foment. There's something else you've heard, we've all heard. I'm enough. You are enough. We are enough. We are all enough. Everybody's enough. I am enough. Well, if you look up the definition of enough, it is only as much as is required. So by definition, enough isn't enough. Yeah. And is there an enough panel? Like, who's telling me what is enough and what isn't? Like, who judges enough? So my new mantra is, I am so much more than enough.
I love that.
And I want to be everyone else's too. Your subconscious is constantly taking in, the wording. Enough. I'm enough. Well, okay. Enough of what? And who says what enough is? Who decides that for you? So be really, really careful about the wording, the verbiage, the boundaries, being loyal to yourself and others. And the other thing I think is really important, Shelley, is a fabulous country song that I love. And it goes along the lines of, you can do anything until you can't. You can do anything. I can do anything until you can't. So who do you need to pick up the phone and call today? Who do you need to make amends with? Who do you need to say I'm sorry to? I'm sorry are two of the most powerful words, three, because it's hyphenated. I am sorry. Three of the most powerful words. I'll go with two because let's go with three. They are the most powerful words, some apart from I love you. Yeah. And I am sorry. I'm sorry. No more three powerful words on the planet than I love you. But truly,
and I think that goes along with, with the self-esteem, all the things you're saying is the core is you and honoring yourself and having integrity within yourself, because you won't worry about the things around you, the people around you. And mentioned the phones earlier and how those relationships are toxic, even though there's not a physical person, there's a lot going on that's creating toxicity.
Yeah. And I would say, the toxic stops here. It stops with me. Anything that I brought, that it was brought forward into my existence. And a lot of this also goes back into genealogy, and we won't go down that path, but what was brought forward by the tribe of the tribe of the tribe of the tribe, are some of those things that we're still learning today. And that are brought forward in tradition. And but yeah, absolutely, you can do anything until you can't, really hit home with me. And that was, who do we need to be making amends with? And this is going to take courage, because they may not pick up the phone, or they may pick up the phone and still be really angry. And they may pick up a phone and your I'm sorry may not be good enough for the moment. In other words, you're going to have to navigate that. Maybe it's an I'm sorry through a card or a letter, or an email. Maybe it's that. But, I think that brings forth such a huge sense of self-esteem in just in personal growth alone. Yeah. And getting over ourselves to the point where we can say, we're sorry.
Yes, I agree. Forgiveness to ourselves and to others. It raises our vibration towards the world, right?
Yes, all day long.
Yeah. This has been so wonderful, Clarissa. You are a lovely person. I enjoy talking to you.
Thank you so much.
Can you tell people where they can connect with your book so they can make those efforts to become better?
Yes, I'm happy to say it's in the Barnes & Noble store, should you happen upon a store. If not, it's on Barnes & Noble online. It's also on Amazon, pretty much in every country in the world, I'm happy to say. It's on Amazon as the book, it's on there as Kindle, and it's also on Audible. So no excuses.